War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. You've probably heard these slogans 100 times in discussions about Russia. And since the beginning of the full scale war against Ukraine, I've been saying the same thing. Putin's propaganda isn't just about twisting the news or lying, it's about creating a new language, a new Russian language, if you will, newspeak, a language where war becomes a special operation and occupation becomes liberation. But until recently, this language existed de facto, but not de jure. Now it does. Russia has introduced a new explanatory dictionary of the state language of the Russian Federation, compiled at St. Petersburg State University and immediately added to the official list of normative dictionaries that government agencies are required to use. Let's look at some of the definitions. And again, this is an official dictionary that Russian institutions must follow. Let's go alphabetically first. Authoritarianism, a form of state governance based on the authority of a specific individual with limited public participation and making key decisions on political, economic, and social issues. So, nothing new so far, right? But here comes the most interesting part. Quote, consider it the most effective form of governance in difficult times for a country, the most effective form of governance. Putin never admits openly that he is an authoritarian leader, but here the dictionary does it for him. Putin is good for you people. Freedom is slavery. But let's move on. A, B, C, D, democracy. Let's read about democracy. The exercise of authority based on taking into account the opinions of all in a state, all citizens, openness to public discussion, and oversight of decision making and implementation. And again, the most interesting part follows. In the political practice of Western countries, a form of governance in which citizens possess certain rights and freedoms, and state institutions operate in the interests of the most influential actors, affecting decisions on political, economic, and social life. So, you see what's going on here. Democracy is something Western, not Russian. And as we've just learned, authoritarianism supposedly suits Russia better. But let's keep going. E, F, G, H, humanism. According to the dictionary, humanism is a traditional Russian spiritual and moral value. Traditional Russian. A worldview based on the value of the human person, human dignity, respect for others, concern for their well being, the right to freedom, equality, and happiness, humanity. Why specify that humanism is a specific Russian value? The answer is very simple because Putin said so. In 2022, Russia's Ministry of Culture prepared for Vladimir Putin a list of traditional values for Russian citizens. The presidential decree defined which values are inherent and which are alien. Quote, traditional values include life, dignity, human rights and freedoms, patriotism, civic mindedness, service to the fatherland, high moral ideals, a strong family, creative labor, the primacy of the spiritual over the material, humanism, mercy, justice, mutual assistance, and mutual respect, historical memory, continuity between generations, and the unity of the peoples of Russia. Remember that word, unity. So when Russia is bombing Ukrainian cities and killing Ukrainians, it's called humanism. This isn't sarcasm, actually. That's literally how they frame it because Putin insists he's helping people. And speaking of unity, another interesting entry, unity of the system of public authority. It's another quote from the dictionary. And an example, the historical unity of Belarusians, Russians, and Ukrainians. the unity of the peoples of Russia, traditional Russian spiritual and moral value. The example says it all. The brotherly nation myth. Russia and Ukraine are historically united. Therefore, Ukraine supposedly cannot live without Russia. And there is more. Look at the entry for regime, for example, illustrated with the term Kiev regime. Quote, in Ukraine since 2014, the established form of political rule which poses a threat to the fundamental rights and interests of the Russian speaking population. End of quote. This dictionary rewrites meanings, invents new ones, and embeds Kremlin narratives through examples like the Kiev regime. It creates a mechanism of total linguistic control. The dictionary prescribes using words in state approved meanings in all spheres where the state language is mandatory. This is basically an attempt to restructure people's thinking, especially that of children, since students will be using this dictionary. It marks a new stage of propaganda, the creation and official codification of a new language with its own norms and rules.